you're used to wearing positive heeled shoes, it can shorten your calf muscle as much as 13%. So that's quite a bit. And so that means lack of blood flow and oxygen and nutrients to the tissue, as well as lack of waste removal. And so going back to the stride length, if you're walking with tight calf muscle, your lower body is actually moving slower than your upper body, so it creates this whip-like motion where the calf muscle holds you back. And so I recommend doing this calf stretch at least 3 times a day, holding a minute on each side. And again, if you've been wearing positive heeled shoes, just take your time working up to that. And you may also want to start with a rolled up towel instead of a styrofoam dome. So you can just roll up a towel, and you can control how big your dome is with a towel. So if you're just starting out, you can unroll it so there's a shorter width here with this dome, and as you progress, you can increase it by rolling it up. You can also use a styrofoam half dome. They're not that expensive, and I keep one in each of my rooms to, like if I'm at the standing workstation, it's nice to have one. I can do a calf stretch there. In the living room while I'm watching TV. I keep one at my office to do the calf stretch in between clients. And if you wanted several, you can either buy them individually or you can buy a long dome and cut it into, you could probably get 3 out of that. And so I also have a dense black one. It's very hard, so there's not as much give to it, so it's not a starter dome. So there's some alignment markers that you want to pay attention to when you're doing the calf stretch. It's very important. So the first one is you want to start with your hips or your feet pelvis width apart, and you want your feet facing forward. And so what I mean by that is you don't want your foot turning out, and you don't want your foot turning in. The other thing is you want to do is you want your pelvis facing forward, so you don't want to twist in your pelvis like this or like this. You want facing forward. And you also want your pelvis in neutral, and what I mean by that is you want your ASIS, this bony piece of your pelvis, in line with your pubic bone. So if your hips were a bowl of soup, you don't want it spilling out the front, and you don't want it spilling out the back where you're tucking the tailbone under. So you want to line up your pelvis, and what else you want to do is you want to keep your pelvis in vertical alignment with your knee and your ankle. So if I were to drop a plumb line from the center of my hip, it should pass through my ankle and midline of my knee. And so if I were to lean forward, my center of mass, meaning my pelvis, is out in front of myself. So the weight is actually going through the front of my foot. So you'd want to back your hips up so you maintain that alignment. And you can start with your opposite foot slightly behind you. And when that doesn't feel challenging enough, you can move your foot forward. And you can continue to move it forward unless you start to go out of alignment. Then you know you went too far and you just need to back up. And so you hold it on each side for at least a minute and do several times a day, as often as you can. And be patient with yourself, and yeah, let me know how it goes. Thank you for tuning in.